Thank you, Madam Chair. The goodwill's there. Let's not forget that Watercare is still in a transition process themselves. They are still trying to absorb the water functions that the old councils had into a single environment.
Yep.
Likewise, the transport function is trying to absorb those functions that existed in the legacy councils into a single environment. So it wasn't just the merger of 8 councils into one, it was also a divestment of 8 councils into 2 separate entities in that process of 9 months through the ATA. So there is still work going on in both those large entities to consolidate their solutions first. If we tried to do it at this point, we would have a bigger system set to try and deal with, which will be far more complex. So we have to clean the shops individually before we start to bring them together as one, where the potential exists.
Okay. Madam Chair, one last question. I'll reserve the comment. I know you like the comment to go with the motion. One last question really relates to the requirement for allocation of increased budget. So when that increased budget is allocated, do you go back and review the business case, and do you make sure that the business case is still delivering same or better? And how did it look when you reviewed it once that new allocation was required?
The exercise leading up to November was to, first of all, reaffirm the benefits of this new core project, and we reaffirmed that, and that was communicated. There's a number of very significant things that just have to be done, and new core is a platform for doing that. So that was reaffirmed, and then the next step we went through was to have a look at the program and the cost and the scope of delivering on that, and making sure that it was fit for purpose and focused. And that's when, in that process, that's when we came back to you and said, we need a year longer and we need additional budget. This is the scope. So it may be a slightly longer answer to your question, but yes, the original business case has been assessed. We've come back to you with a new business case, and we've come back to you with confirmation around benefits, and we're now looking at the timing of those benefits, which is the feedback we'll give at the next quarterly update.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wood.
Yes, thank you. And I just always go back to the fact that when the Chief Executive was Doug Mackay, I remember one of the real salient issues I asked him about was, what's the cost of new core? And he said 73 million. After about a day, he came back and said 73 million. I thought, okay. And I thought, we'll keep you to that. And now we've got these huge new figures. So anyway, we saw the diagram which Andrew McKenzie gave us and said we've got all these different computer systems that we've got to integrate. You said that it's 32% down the track, but it doesn't kind of indicate to me as to what track or what the overall work that's happened is. So is there any way that we can kind of get a bit more clarity in relation to where we actually are? Because, I mean, it just seems that, I mean, as other councillors expressed, I do have concerns as to what we've gained out of this, because, it was sold on the basis that we were going to there would be efficiencies, back office would be much more simplified. So how do we kind of quantify these gains that we've made to this stage and the gains that are going to be made in the future? Because it just seems that it's gone out, the whole program's gone out further than I ever envisaged it was going to be. New core, because new core was only a subset of the whole computer rationalisation program, as I understand it. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's some 150 million of a $500 million program.
That's the new figure.
Correct.
$500 million.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's
over a 10-year period.
Yeah, I mean, and as it's been said, we are lay people with computer systems, and we do find that, so that's the real concern I have. There's a lot of kind of technical kind of jargony stuff in this and acronyms, which I don't know what they are. So I would like to see a more succinct presentation where we get more clarity. And, you know, as Councillor Casey says, it's kind of hard to know who is the checkers of the checkers, because here we seem to have EY doing that work, but is EY, you know, they're not here today, are they?
No, they weren't able to be here today.
Okay. Okay, so,
Madam Chair, can I just put it into context? So we've got a 2-year program to put new core in place.
yeah,
So on that journey of 2 years, we expected to be 29% of the way through. Today, we sit at 32% of the way through, so we're ahead of schedule.
That's right.
There is a set of processes that we have to go through to get the deliveries that we need to make the system work. So in June 2016 will be the first set of deliverables that Paul has to achieve. He is on target, in fact, he's ahead of the target to make that date. So overall, we're 32% of the way through the journey of 100%, which is 3% ahead of where we should be. So we're accelerating as much as we can.
I will have a look at how we communicate the percentage complete and what you've actually got for your money inside that percentage complete, which is where I think this uncertainty is going. And so we'll take that on board and we'll have a look at how we provide more content inside there to give you some satisfaction that actually we're not only paying money, but we're getting real stuff out. Okay?
And it may also be, because this is the first report, so we're just sort of going through it. It may be an idea next time to do the IS transformational program and then separate new core, because people are getting them all mixed up together, and I think that's one of the issues. But anyway, this is the first report back, so we're learning. Councillor Crum?
Thank you. Clearly, we're all just needing reassurances as we go along, but credit where credit's due. Commend you for this first go at reporting and reporting more succinctly. Because we're just getting this particular sheet now and having to skim read some of the stuff, I've just got a few observations and questions on the basis of that, just having looked at it. Just back to the Executive Steering Committee, Dean, can you just confirm for me, the three of you, SAP, Patricia Reid, EY,
Kevin Ramsey.
and Kevin? Okay, and how often are you meeting?
Monthly.
Monthly, okay. And just the next page in terms of new core key risks and issues, help me out with the dates here. Almost down the bottom, the particular box, change in behaviour required across and within all teams. And then you've got a date, the 27th of February, is that? And then there's an update next to it, but the date doesn't seem to update in terms of, looks like the 30th of January. Clarify?
The dates with the risk relate to when the next review or the next update will be provided on that risk. It's not the date when the risk will necessarily be resolved, but we actively manage our risks on at least a weekly basis, going through those and reviewing those and updating them as is appropriate through that. The update there with the date there is when the last comment or update was made on that particular risk. And we take the one in particular that you mentioned, so that will be formally reviewed again by the 27th of February. The last review on that was the 30th of January.
And just in a similar vein to what Councillor Wood was requesting in terms of some further clarity and some suggestions around the reports that we're getting, that last page where you summarise what's amber and what's green, the amber, the definition is partially off track. So I would appreciate a more fulsome track. How, for those that, in fact you could answer now, for those that are on amber now, how close are they to red versus how close are they to green? So if we had a little bit more of a, if you want to keep it red lightish or, you know, traffic lights, that's fine, but, you know, if you're amber, are you closer to green or are you closer to red?
I can answer, we are closer to green than we are red with those.
On all categories?
For all those three that are amber on there, yes. What we can do, those we can add a brief commentary where we have the flags or to the right of that, which can help to explain it, so we can certainly do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Lee.
Yep. Councillor Darby raised an interesting point about integrating the whole family or the whole group into this IT system and raised a question of goodwill. It's not a matter of goodwill, it's a matter of fiscal responsibility and good sense. In the case of Auckland Transport, they took over a legacy IT system, spent about $2 million on it, and it works fine for them. So understandably, they don't want to be sucked into down a fiscal drain hole being linked in with this system. As I understand, so far this council, since amalgamation, has spent $430 million on IT, and given the table in the paper, the projection is to 2018-19 is $710 million. That's nearly $1 billion on IT. Part of the problem is that we're dealing with decisions that were made by the Auckland Transition Agency. But my concern, I have to tell you, Madam Chair and members, is that my real concern about the hemorrhage of this public money is that people involved in that, or who made those decisions, are still very much involved. That's my worry.
Is there any comment to that?
Oh, I've got no comment. I'm not aware of the numbers, and I'm not sure who we're talking about.
I was given the numbers by finance, and you've said half a billion. Well, it's more than that. You said 500 million. Well, it's more than that. It will be more than that.
Right, I think that's why we're having reports back on a regular basis. Member Taipari.
Kia ora, Madam Chair. I just want to acknowledge, following up from the commitment in November to bring us the report. Appreciate that report. Also think that the indicators, and I support Councillor Crumb's thing to sort of get a bit of the commentary around that to know where we actually are. But Councillor Lee makes an important point. Some substantial amount of money has been invested in this, and it needs to be completed. And from what I read, I understand that you're satisfied with the track that it's on and the progress that it's making, Dean.
That's correct. I think we've come a long way, and we're in a lot more control of this project than we were last year.
So on that, Madam Chair, I would like to move the recommendation.
A second.
It's been moved, thank you. Thank you very much. And Councillor Penrose.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was actually going to move the recommendation to get this to get moving along. Probably from where I'm sitting, Dean, is that I've seen how you operate over the last year or so around this council table and in the background, and I have the confidence that you're going to drive this one in the way we want it to be driven. And this is not an easy one, as Councillor Lee has highlighted here. This was, the Auckland Council was brought together by the ATA. And, whilst a number of us around this table didn't want the Auckland Council to grow legs, it happened. We're here. And we all know that IT is a moving feast. It doesn't happen weekly, it's basically daily. And it's the challenges. For me, for the regulatory area, I want to be able to have the confidence in our people, whether you live in Rodney in the north or Franklin in the south, that you can walk into any service centre and have accessibility to any building resource planning issue across the region, whether it's dogs, whether it's health and hygiene, whatever, that they can pull it up. It's damn embarrassing and damn hard for our planning team and our regulatory team and our staff right across the region, because they're on the end of it. We get the complaints, but they're the ones that get their ears bashed. So I welcome this report, and it's only a report, it's an update. Again, Dean, I just want to acknowledge the team and say, keep us well informed, and I assure you will do. But it's not an easy one. We've heard all the challenges from the central government levels to, Nova pay the whole lot. you know, ACC and the likes, you know. So I wish you well, and I'm sure you'll keep us well informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
I don't think anything more needs to be said after councillor Penrose's comments.
Thank you. Councillor Hulse.
I'll be quick, Madam Chair. I think councillor Cooper's right, we can go on about this, but just very, very briefly. The issue that we need to deal with, and I'm going to be supporting the recommendations, so speaking to the recommendations, from a governance perspective, I just sort of wrote down, where are we experts in this? No. My son's an IT expert, I use a computer badly, I'm not an IT expert, neither should we expect that we are here in that context. We need to set out clear outcomes for this project. We've done that. We need to have checks and balances in place and an independent auditing process. We've asked for that, we've got that.
Yep.
We need to have a process for monitoring progress and identifying risks. We've got that. And we need to work out, can we improve the legibility for our community and ourselves of the process? And we're doing that, and I think Councillor Crumb's made some excellent suggestions. So we just need to remember our governance role here. We are not the experts in this. And for those of us, we need to give up, and I'll never raise this again after today, but for the last time, in 2009, I was on record slagging it out with Rodney Hyde in the newspaper, saying the IT costs of amalgamation will be several $100,000, perhaps up to $300,000. Rodney Hyde tore me to shreds in the media. You know, I can't rest my case. It is expensive. No one can sit around here and be surprised. It is, you know, but as Councillor Penrose said wisely, our community actually expect to be able to connect with us in the digital world, and that's what is being put together. Our only governance role is to make sure that we are stewarding ratepayers' money effectively as we possibly can, and that we've got the processes in place to do it. We can't do it on a day-to-day basis. So I thank the presenters for their hard work in this direction, and we will be watching this every step of the way, as is our governance responsibility.
Thank you. Councillor Brewer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I too will be supporting this recommendation, and like others are impressed that good progress is being made. However, while we're not experts in IT, Madam Chair, I think it is important that we don't start trying to package it up to the public as it's a 2-year project and we're a third of the way through, because for those of us that were there in 2012, we were, as Councillor Wood has told us, we were promised a $71 million new core project, about 58 million of that being CapEx, and we're being told today that it's a 2-year project and it only, I suppose, starts from the reset. Well, if we look at the budget, it falls over 5 financial years, and you know, we're halfway through that, if you like, and it is 157 million compared to the original 71 million. So yes, we're on target to, given how we reset back in November, but I think we can't pull the wool over the public's eyes that this project's just started and that we're on time and on budget, because when you look at it in its entirety, if you base a project on the funding it's getting on a budget, it's over 5 financial years, and it will be with us still getting capital funding until 17-18. But nonetheless, impressed that since the reset that we are making some really good progress. My concern, and there might be a comment from our officers on this, Madam Chair, is the impact that when we raided one jam jar to put into the subset, as Councillor Wood has called it, of new core, it really depleted our other IT transformational budget. And my question to Dean is the other budget, which now sits at 4 million this financial year, 3 million next year, 8 million, 16, 17. Is he confident that that will be enough to fulfil our obligations with this IT transformation? That's my question.
So we talked about this issue quite a bit at the November meeting.
Yeah.
Not all of that budget had been allocated due to the uncertainty that we had around the projects that at the time the 500 million was approved, contained. So my reassurance to you, and Mike will also provide some comment, I'm sure, on this, is that we have a series of projects that we have defined in new core in the overall IS budget, of which new core is one. We're delivering those. As we discover other things that need to be improved in the way that we look at our IS program, overall transformation program, we're adding those in, but we also have to live within a budget. And so that's my answer. That's why you have another in there, to allow for that flexibility on what we need to deliver as an organisation to achieve transformation in this area.
And just finally, are you confident, Dean, that as things are tracking with the reset and the progress that's been made in recent months, that it won't, the new core project here won't be needing direct financial contributions as part of the entire project beyond 17-18?
So
The 3 million allocated there will be where it tapers off as a project on its own. I know that there'll be ongoing capital costs, but as the IT new core transformational project, are you confident in the year 17-18 we'll be cutting the ribbon?
in a virtual sense, yes, we'll be cutting the ribbon in 17-18.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Darby.
I thank you in supporting the motion too, and I appreciate the team bringing us this update. And I'm no IT expert, struggle to drive a laptop, can't drive a train, but I'll ask questions about rail and the CRL as well. And I know nothing about stevedoring, but I'll keep asking questions about the port. And our inquiry needs to continue in all these areas. It should not be curtailed because we are not deemed experts. We should be experts at governance. But look, one of the things that's really popped out here is probably a signal, Madam Chair, that we could actually send back to those in government or in the Parliament, and maybe those in Wellington or Northland who are sort of staring down the possibility of amalgamation, is the need for legislation that requires shared services across, future CCOs in Wellington. Because for me, this looks like a glitch. An oversight, and Rodney Hyde got his numbers wrong, maybe, I don't know, look, I can't remember the numbers, but we've got reality staring at us right now, and I think if there's anything positive to take out of this, and there are a lot of positives, and thank you, gentlemen, there is a message to go back to Wellingtonians or Northlanders or Southlanders, whoever they are that might be contemplating amalgamation, and those in the government and the Parliament, to make sure that future legislation applying to those parts of the country lock down and mandate shared services across the wider family that might become Greater Wellington, or whatever they might call it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
No.
Right, thank you.